5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. The only thing we have to fear is spirit.
Mile 18.
This is Endurance Nation.
Hey folks, did you know that you can help support the Endurance Nation podcast and keep us ad-free? We've got lots of sponsors, but rather than ask them for money, I want to get them to give you lots of great discounts and free swag even as well. So you can help us do just that by focusing on you, focusing on the content. If you're a fan of the podcast, maybe not even a member, but have been listening for years, we'd sure appreciate your support. You can learn more over at patreon.com/Endurance Nation. That's patreon.com/Endurance Nation. There, you can sign up and donate a small amount monthly that goes to support this program and all the other free content that we produce out there. Thanks so much for everything. Now, on to our episode.
Endurance Nation.
Hey everyone, Coach Patrick here, Endurance Nation, back with a special podcast, an interview this time. In fact, to say this time because it's the second time that I'm interviewing this young man who's up to all good. Forget no good, he's up to all good. He's undertaking a challenge to raise awareness for mental health. And the challenge is just one you're going to feel when he says what it is. So I can't wait for him to break the news and tell you what he's going to try and break the rules, break the time on. We've got Mr. Josh Wolf with us, who's going to do an epic fastest known time attempt. Josh, how are you?
I'm great, Patrick. Thanks for that laudatory introduction there.
No worries. I'm pumped. Like, I think, I've had some time to think about it now since we're calling this a podcast do-over. And it's really struck with me as I got to kind of mull over the magnitude of what you're doing. And so before I just take away all your thunder, why don't you let folks know what you're up to on October 4th?
Yeah, man. So October 4th, coming up here and pretty quick. I'm going to ride 418 miles across the state of Kansas from west to east. And the goal is to break the fastest known time. Right now it is 19:55. So that's the time. So 418 miles in 19 hours, 55 minutes. And my 7-person crew, 2 officials and I, because it is a community thing, we aim to do it in around 19 hours. So that's the big goal. And like you mentioned, we're going to do it for mental health awareness, both depression and suicide awareness, to try to talk about these things that nobody wants to talk about.
Well, I definitely, as I think as everyone's obviously aware, in 2020, in these trying times, I think mental health and just overall wellness has really become apparent. Just the sort of lack of sort of general awareness we've had as a country. I think society, if you want to go that far, that just hasn't necessarily had to grapple with some of the issues on a macro level that many people deal with on a daily basis. And I think just kind of having that conversation, not just for the people who need to hear it from you or the people who need to be reached out to, but just everybody. Because I feel like having an opportunity just to stop and be like, "Hey, how are you?" Right? Like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Not like "What's up?" But
right.
What like today was Monday, and sometimes in 2020 Mondays are terrible. Like, how are you feeling? So awesome. Well, let's dive in a little bit because I want to talk not only about the cause that you're going for, but I want to talk a little bit about the challenge itself, because you picked this fastest known time attempt, which is legit. So of all the challenges you could have come up with, like if you had a book of challenges that someone gave you poorly many Christmases ago, why this one? Why this challenge? What stuck out for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I live in Kansas City, and I've looked at this challenge before. It was years ago, and I've always thought it would be really neat to ride as fast as you can across the state. I've done tons of endurance events over the years. Very grateful to be able to do those things. I've done around 100 triathlons, about 9 Ironmans, a bunch of halves. I don't know about you, you start to lose count, and I'm blessed enough to be able to go to Kona. I've been there a couple of times, and when things started to go a little south here around March with the COVID shutdown, it was pretty clear that we're not going to be racing this year. And for me, I think you can go two ways. You can start focusing on the things you cannot do, or you can start to live into the things that you can do. And I wanted to do something that was truly challenging, that could pique my interest, but also, again, like we talked about, like for a cause bigger than me, and I chose this for a variety of reasons. The first was like I said, I live in Kansas, so there's the guy that has it right now. It was a super legit effort. It was amazing, and he calls himself the article says fastest man on two wheels. Ooh. So I sent that to my coach, and she's like, "Who is this guy? Who is this? Right. What do you mean? That's Wolfman. That's what she calls me." I'm like, "Right, yeah, let's do it." So like I was like, "Well, that would be kind of cool to have that title for your hometown." And the second, it really is a big community challenge. Like, I can't do it alone. And we'll talk about the nitty gritty here, but like I'll have a 7-person crew, and like they're going to be able to. I have to have a fall vehicle. There's 50 pages of rules. It's through the Ultra Cycling Association, so it's like you have to, basically an official has to write down every 45 minutes where you are, what is around you, and like how, the distance you just traversed. So like there's so many different pieces to it. It's like so much bigger than a bike ride. Does that make sense? It was everything that I wanted it to be.
Yeah, totally. I love the local connection. Right. Like I love, how it resonates with you. I think sometimes when we go out and pick these challenges, it needs to be that way. Like I'm always super impressed with people who go off and do challenges, right? Like, let's say they, run the Great Wall of China or something, which is probably impossible, but someone's done it, right? Or something which is epic, and it's an experience, but it's also, as as I get older, to me, some of those things seem distant, right? Like I don't really remember. It's like, I'll never go there again. Like I'll never see it. Like I've got memories of it, but I think to be in it, to do something epic like that in a place where you are, is really cool, right? Like it's like you mentioned, it's like, it's your hometown, it's your place, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about that, which is awesome. I think
it's a super scary distance too.
Oh
like
my
I've
God.
never done, I don't know about you. I've never done anything close to that. So to do that, it kind of makes me feel like I'm back in the sport for the first time. Like everything feels new and exciting, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just rode the longest I've ever ridden. Again.
So
cool.
We did it again.
I know.
But that's a great point. Like, I think, we've been encouraging, here inside Neurostation, we've been encouraging our athletes to think of challenges, to come up with something different, and not just, virtual race number 973B, but, something that's either meaningful for you. And it could be anything. It could be, take 6 hours, or, go find a park, nearby you and, run for 6 hours. How far can you go? Like, challenge yourself to do something that you will be proud of, right? Because you've got fitness, you've got the means, you've got the equipment to do that. And right now the weather's great. Like let's go forth and do it. I think we've normally looked so externally for people to create those opportunities for us, right? Like, so Kona is a great example. It's an amazing event. It's, one of a kind. And when you've been, you're just like, wow, you walk away with this vibe and this, feeling that it's so much more than just a medal. Which is amazing, but it's also in some way, manufactured there, right? You could also just go there and do epic stuff and not have that same experience. So I think in many ways, there's people like yourself who are breaking out of the mold and saying, hey, wait a minute, like there's a whole world of just really cool stuff that I had never even thought was possible and may not be possible, but you know what? I'm going to find out. I'm going to do it. And get out there and do it. I think that's super cool. I think it's awesome. Oh yeah, and you touched on the one of the biggest things I always like to think about is, what is art impossible and what really is possible. I think that so many times we limit ourselves. We quit before we try. We don't give ourselves the opportunity to overcome things that are truly out of our comfort zones for various reasons. Sometimes it's fear, and sometimes we just don't. We don't think that we can. And I think that like what you said, like finding those situations where you can flip the script
and speak the narrative and speak the affirmations into existence that allow you to do things you once thought you could not do. Man, that's super powerful when you start doing that stuff. Yeah, I love that.
Totally. I agree. And I think, for me, that challenge really dovetails with, sort of your cause, right? Which is that, being in tune with that internal monologue, that internal voice, being able to listen and to leverage the experience you're in to challenge yourself, to strengthen yourself from within, and to emerge. I don't want to say victorious isn't the right word, but to emerge, a better, stronger person for having had those conversations, right, and putting yourself in that place. I don't know. I feel like there's a side of endurance sports when we start talking about things as epic as a bike ride like this over 400 miles, where people understand that it's not all unicorns and rainbows, right? They're saying, wow, there's this person is putting themselves into the hurt locker at some point in time, right? At some point in time, the smile goes away and it's time to work. But there's a place that we also, are happy to be. It's not the place that people think of when they think of endurance sports, but for many of us who participate, that's a place where, in the right conditions, we can thrive, you mentioned doing Ironmans and having, obviously spent lots of time on a bike and lots of time moving and being out there, but, changing over to just doing this, single sport, how has that affected sort of your training schedule or your mindset, in terms of, what you perceived yourself to be before as a sort of perhaps more well-rounded athlete?
That's a great question. I think there's lots of things that come to mind. So first, I'm biking all the time. I've done barely any running, and I'm cool with that. And I've, my swimming has gone as well. Right. For a while, it was because we couldn't get into pools. Nothing was open. And around where I lived, I couldn't get out in the open water. It was just way too cold. Right. So whenever I had the ability to bike, though, I can bike, inside, outside, in pretty much any condition if I want to have the right gear, right? So that's been one difference is like I can pretty much, it's very self-sustainable. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. I could just get on the bike and go. Another difference is actually I have to get up at different times. We've done a lot of rides where we've gotten up at like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. to be able to be done by 3 or 4 p.m. so you're not riding into the dark. That was a huge difference. So talking to my wife, and she's awesome. She's very supportive. And honey, what would you think about me doing a ride at 3 a.m.? You want to do what? So like, sleeping upstairs, trying that out and deciding that doesn't work out very well either. Like those have been big differences as well. Having those conversations again with our family. I think that's one of the biggest things that, as endurance athletes, we really need to do is be very, very upfront and communicate very well and allow our significant others to be part of that conversation. So having to do that again has been a good experience, I think. And then just in general, like I've actually gained a little bit more weight. My quads are huge again, and just like everything, right. I used to just lift weights. That's why I said again. So like everything just is very cycling specific. Like the nuances of being able to pedal and being able to be super efficient and, staying off your legs. That's a big difference. Last thing, I actually have to really work to get 10,000 steps. I actually have to really work to get over 5,000 steps. Like it's crazy how much you don't, like I don't walk as nearly as much as I thought I was. I was running, getting 15, 20,000 steps. I'm always thinking, why is it so hard to do this? Right. Because when you don't run, you have to actually try to walk. That was a big difference too, is being health minded and health focused and getting up out of your seat and moving around during the day to get steps. So that's been cool too.
Wow, that's so crazy. You don't even think about that, right? Like, the specificity of your daily life, right? Yes. Built around this challenge, like how it's sort of become this, gravitational pull towards what are all the things I need to do to be successful, and as a result, what parts are no longer there, right? Or at least temporarily speaking, right? To focus down. Wow. That's crazy. Well, you speak about, forcing yourself to get the steps in. What about on the nutritional side? You mentioned you put on some weight and, your quads are bigger from time on the bike. And I think, less running also can help with that as well. Have you made any substantive changes to your nutrition? Like, have you added in like an extra meal? Are you like a hobbit now, or what's the story with that?
Actually, so we kind of outsource nutrition just a little bit. I have a really good friend that comes over and helps us with that. And so that's been fantastic. But like I eat 5,000 to 8,000 calories a day. I try to eat. I like highly nutrient dense foods is the way I like to say that. So the closer to real, the more I'm going to eat that, and the closer to fake, the less I eat that kind of stuff. Okay. But yeah, I eat a ton of that. What's been really neat though is actually on figuring out what works on a long bike ride versus during an Ironman. You can get away with a little bit more substance and like the different stuff that I really crave, So for me, like my go-to is Coke and chips. Okay. I just love like a regular Coke and Lay's potato chips. Like that's an easy 500 calories that I can get on the bike. For I've done that, and I've kind of figured out like I don't really like this flavor of goo, but this one does well. Whereas in an Ironman, it's I mean, don't hear me wrong, it's a long distance. It's short enough that like the nutritional what would you call it, when you get the flavor fatigue is not really a factor, so that's been kind of cool too, to play with it. Right.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
I've doubled CBD oil for recovery.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's been cool too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the sort of ancillary things that people don't think about when they say, I'm gonna ride this bike, and not just ride this bike ride, but I'm gonna do it for time. That there's, that one decision sets off a cascading set of other decisions that either you've made before for limited time, or you haven't considered before, or maybe you thought about but hadn't really done anything, that forces you to lock things down. I kind of liken it to like a North Star metric, right? So you can say, hey, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do, and when you set that goal, like if, for example, whether it's a leadership position or in your case, leading your army of one, to say this is what we're going to do, then lots of other decisions are then just automatic. Whereas in a vacuum, they would have been outrageous, right? You wouldn't have thought about doing some of those things. Like if I told you, like, hey, you're going to spend 6 months and it's going to be really hard for you to go 5,000 steps a day. We're just going to cut all of your time on your feet in half. You'd be like, okay, am I in prison? Like, what's happening? Like, why would you do this to me? But as a result, you've sort of prioritized this, and we see growth in certain areas and opportunities elsewhere. I'd be curious. You talked about your nutritional diet. What has this meant for your entertainment diet? Like, are you like asleep, passed out by like 8:45, like no matter what, or have you upped the game because you need something mental? Like, what's your story there?
That's really funny. Well, I'm kind of, you call me a young man. I'm an old young man. I like to go to bed relatively early. Yeah. I don't like to be out past 9 as it is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my wife would definitely say he's asleep by 8:30 or 9. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that I think that's something that we all end up having to sacrifice at some point, is like that entertainment side. Mm-hmm. I don't do a whole lot, honestly, for entertainment. Like I see friends here and there. I mean, I'll be intentional to see people, maybe go on like a coffee date here or there, mm-hmm. or maybe I will catch a drink with a friend, or here and there. I think though, for the most part, yeah, it ends up being you're trying to get as much sleep as possible, mm-hmm. to be able to recover for the event, to absorb mm-hmm. that fitness that allows you to go. And really, that's interesting, Patrick. Like for me, I'm a big sleep person. I think that as a culture, like you said, if you want to go that far, like as a society, Americans, we just don't value sleep. We value the hustle. We value mm-hmm. working over sleeping. And 9 times out of 10, like most of our problems could be mm-hmm. fixed, whether it be emotional, mental, physical, relational. They could, even at work, your mental acuity could be fixed with more sleep. Mm-hmm. So for me, like I try to keep that in mind. And yeah, I'm very big into the sleep factor. Mm-hmm. And then entertainment factor is very low. I love riding the bike, so let's go ride bikes.
Right. So it's a win. No, I appreciate that.
It's a win.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that, and I'm so grateful. We're talking about mental health, but I think there's always a component the physical side as well, and sort of that self-care side of the equation, and understanding that I don't want to say less is more, because that's so cliche, but to your point, like I think especially now as I raising 2 young daughters, my youngest is just starting, or my oldest is just starting high school, and she's got homework and she's stressed out about it, and I'm trying to explain to her that the concept that work expands to fit the time you've given to do it, right? So if you say you'll study for 4 hours, you'll study for 4 hours, but if you can only study for 45 minutes, you do a great job, and it'd be 45 minutes and you'd be done. And I think there's I
like that. That's a really good way to put that.
Well, I think it goes to that sleep side. People look at the day and they say, I've got this pie of 24 hours, and how do I cut this up? And the first place that athletes will go to when they need more time is sleep. They'll cut that right out. They'll just get up earlier, or they'll work out later, and by default, their bodies can't ramp down. They have to stay up. They have, and so as a result, they've cut those corners. And the costs associated with that are so it's like the iceberg, right? Like you don't notice it, really, but I'll have another coffee, I'll be fine. But the cascading set of problems that come down are massive, and the lifelong issues, I think, from sleep deprivation are massive. So I'm pleased to hear that you've always made that a priority, and I'm not surprised, obviously, with all the cycling you're doing, that sleep is, coming at the top of the list, because, hey, anytime you stop moving, you're probably going to drift off a little bit there. What, I'd be curious, when you are, sleeping, are you have you had cycling nightmares? Have you seen yourself, like the Ironman people, I missed the start of the race in my dream. Have you just slept through the day, or took a left turn and, ended up in another state?
That's funny. That's crazy. I just had a dream last night. Yeah. Where we couldn't do it. So we set out to do it. And I wrote this long email to my crew yesterday about how I don't care what happens, we're going to make this work. Somebody asked me the other day, if the winds aren't if the winds are bad and you're halfway through and you're not going to get the record, are you going to quit? I'm like, no, I don't quit. That's just not who I am. And I said, no matter what, we're going to get through this, whether we have the record or not, we're going to make this happen. Well, then I had this dream last night that we're going along and everything went wrong. The bike broke down and we couldn't get the spare to work. And then somehow I had to run for part of it. And then it was so odd. Then we were late. You know how it works. It was just I didn't have the nutrition that I had put out, and I didn't have water. And it was just everything was wrong. And then I was, we got about halfway through, and I just had to quit. It just sucked.
Right.
So that's funny that you said that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, you definitely, it makes me, kind of laugh out loud, the things that we go through that we don't, speaking of the mind, speaking of the drive that we have, and we're focused in certain areas, there's always, I think, some area, whether it's conscious or not, where we do, we have to entertain some of those other options for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's flip the coin there and talk a little bit about sort of, bulletproofing the ride itself. How, what are say the top 3 things that you've done that you think have made a real functional difference for you in terms of your ability to stay on target for this 19-hour time? Did you I have no idea, have you spent more time training in a particular zone or a particular type of workout, or is it a piece of gear? What are the top 3 things that you think are going to set you up in that space?
That's great. I think it would be easy to go back or more prudent to go back and talk about the crew, because that's one of the biggest aspects. Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest things is I have an amazing crew, and I am not doing this myself. This is the record will go with them. It is relying on them. It is an amazing attempt that is a community thing. Even people that are here back at home are going to be part of the community. Real quick, not to get too far on a tangent. For me, it's all about purpose, right? We talked about my purpose for mental health, and also the purpose is I've made a commitment to anybody that has been along the way. All kinds of people have helped me, and they're gonna be back here in Kansas City. They're gonna be cheering for me. They're gonna be watching me. I've put it out there. It's really strong on social media. I put a video out there. It had 6,000 views. So people know that this thing is happening. And that pulls me, right? I think that when we get out of bed and we can be pulled to do something and we don't have to push as hard, that's what we want. I'm pulled. I'm being like a magnet's like pulling me into Kansas City. So that's one thing that I think I've done is maybe even subconsciously is allow that experience to be bigger than me, to allow a whole community to rally around, because you won't quit. That'd be so selfish to just quit. Not that I would, but like you'd be so selfish to just throw in the towel if you know that everybody sacrificed for this moment for you to be there. And then going back to the crew, like I have an amazing crew. So Paul is a friend of mine. He's been there since I did my first marathon. He was there when I was going through a really hard time, which we'll talk about probably later. And like he's been a friend since like middle school. And this guy is genius. He's an engineer, and he's basically going to be in charge of my nutrition. And has figured out along the course, every city he has flagged it as green, yellow, or red, based upon whether there's going to be a big stopping point or there's a big stoplight, a small stoplight, if we have to circumvent it. So like he's in charge of that aspect of it. And then I have another guy named Kurt. He's my main sponsor. He owns Kurt's Bars, and he's actually going to make sure that the crew's in line. He's done this all his life. He's been in construction all his life, so he can literally like help everything. He'll be able to see those things that people don't usually see and help things move along. I have another friend that is going to be along that is really good with medicine, and I have another friend that's going to be my bike mechanic, Hanover Bikes. Like, so I have all these people in place. Social media, I'm missing some people, but the point is, like, I have all these people in place. My two officials I picked on purpose because of they are literally, because you can pick your official. You can have a 1-day license that they have to go through a big test, and then they are obligated by that association to report specifically to them and honestly. So those officials, I picked them on purpose because I want them to be very, very detail oriented. I don't want them to miss anything, right? So like my entire crew is set up to where all I have to do is get on and ride my bike. So that's like one big thing that I'm going for a bike ride. That's all I'm doing is going for a bike ride. All I have to do is pedal, right? And that will become very challenging. And though I don't have to think about anything else. So that's probably the most dynamic factor that I've personally think that we've done is taking all that guesswork out. Specifically though, yeah, I mess with from a training standpoint, I really like Strava. I don't know about you. I'm a Strava geek, and I love to like go through and find all the local legend stuff and all the KOMs and whatnot. And so I've done a lot of high watt interval sections, keeping me motivated through the Strava to be able to get through this too. So watt wise, we're going very, very intense. Like, I've increased my functional output considerably. And then also from endurance standpoint, we've done a bunch of different long rides. But does that kind of help answer? From a tire standpoint, we've made some changes there. So I'll be rolling 808s, but I'm definitely going tubeless and lots of sealant, Continental 5000s, I believe. Brand new tires, just put them on there. Just change my chain. Like I noticed that apparently when you ride 1,000 miles, or so around a month, maybe a little less, that you have to go through stuff a little quicker. So that was a big eye opener.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, also the flip side of that, I mean, that's super great answer there, by the way. Thank you. The flip side of that too is like, hey, if this brand new chain is going to save you, I don't know, like say a minute in a 40K time trial, but you're doing 418 miles, like, that new chain could save you half an hour. I know, it's crazy. That's a legit, piece of optimization right there that I don't think people necessarily think about, right? Like, if you think of last time we talked, you talked about sort of like widening your aero bars, right? Like you'd be like head up, head down, right? Like you could see like the optimized time, right? Like 1901, 1858, 1901, like hit your head down, right? Look down. So I think, for me, that's kind of the fun, geeky side of it is the gear side, right? Where you kind of get to dive in and think about all those pieces. Speaking of stuff that you've changed up on your bike, so we talked about some of the obvious stuff, but like, did you say like, I'm going in for a new saddle this time around, or what else did you change up to make these longer rides more manageable.
Yeah, like you said, move the handlebars around, and that actually had to be custom built. So I work with a great bike fitter that 3D printed the and custom built the headset, because my Parlay is a great bike. I like Parlay, and it just doesn't have a lot of variability on the front end. So yeah, we have that set up, and then I did actually go with a new saddle. That is a little bit more squishy, if you will. I usually like my saddles a little bit more rigid. However, it just doesn't feel good after 200 miles to have a really rigid saddle.
Huh.
Yeah, I went to bib shorts. Believe it or not, I can't believe this. I've been doing this since 2003. I've been in endurance sports, and I finally went to bib shorts this year. Like finally.
Wow.
And I've been wearing just your standard kit, and just I don't know what that says about my pubic bone or anything like that, but I finally went to bib shorts, and that's made a world of difference. So I have a very nice set of bib shorts that I'm gonna be wearing, and that was a huge change. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be wearing full shoe covers. Just like you said, it's crazy. Like 40K, you might gain maybe 30 seconds, but you put that over 400 miles, and we're talking 5 minutes, like you said. And I actually changed the helmet I'm going to wear. It's less pointy and a little bit more. It's the gyro attack, however you say that. And the reason I'm doing that is because I like to ride with my head down, so I had the little tail pointed straight in the wind. That's not going to help anybody.
Right.
So doing that type of stuff. Actually, new socks. I know that sounds funny, but I have 3 pairs of new socks that I had to buy. I never realized how important it is when you're going for a really, really long bike ride that they truly wick all moisture away, that they truly don't cause any type of chafing. You have to keep, of course, your saddle area super, super intact, and then you have to keep your feet super, super intact. If you can do that, you have a shot at riding it. If you don't, I mean, you're going to be stopping every 5 minutes because you're uncomfortable.
Right.
So yeah, those are some big things that I changed that have made actually a world of difference.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. So you mentioned, 1,000. When you're riding on average 1,000 miles a month, like how, like what
that's
has
probably
been
a little
your
exaggeration, but
well, sure, but like what has been your biggest week? Like people a lot of times will measure their training by weeks, right? Like so what has been your biggest week of cycling training? Well, you can say time or you can do distance, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing that we did is I did over 3 days. We wanted to do the entire duration of the event. So on the program, my coach put 420 miles, which I decided to increase because why not, right? So the first day did 130, and the second day I did 209. And the third day we did 112. I keep saying we. So one of the coolest parts about this experience of all the friends that I made along the way that I didn't realize would happen, and I already had a friend that rode with me all the time, but this guy, his name's John Arson. He has ridden almost like the entire duration of all of our long rides with me. He's not signed up for anything. He's not doing this race. Okay. I keep telling him he has to sign up for something because, oh my gosh, dude, you have this incredible fitness. This guy has been unbelievable. So like to see people rally around you has been so fun. But yeah, we rode 450 miles that weekend, and that was truly one of the hardest things I think that I've done. Period. Yeah, it was rough. So
wow, that's crazy. Well, it's awesome to have someone who's on the journey with you, and obviously you're fairly unique that it's the same person and not like, yeah, I'll ride 1 day with you, but I'm not riding 3 days with you, bro. So you got some balance there and some support. Like it just makes a difference to be able to just look up and see somebody else, right? Be like, oh, okay.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm not by myself. I got my people with me. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, you mentioned how important it is that you've got this crew and your friends who've been there with you through thick and thin. I know you mentioned you wanted to touch a little bit on that, but how your friends have been there for you in some of those challenging times.
Yeah. So I kind of alluded to Paul. So yeah, I was when I was in middle school, high school, I hated life. I hated everything about it. I hated everybody.
Right.
And it was super, super dark. I was wearing eyeliner and totally black, doing the whole Marilyn Manson thing, and listening to all kinds of music, and got into to all kinds of trouble and legal issues. And I'm very lucky to not be in jail.
Okay.
And yeah, I was super depressed, just trying to find different ways to cope with that. And got to a point where I made a very serious attempt at my own life. And I basically took a car going 70 miles an hour into a tree. And I don't really understand how I'm alive. By the grace of God, I made it. And I realized that at that point that there's a special plan for me, and I got to figure out what that is. So I decided, that I'm no longer going to live that way, and started reframing my brain and making the very conscious decision to stop listening to certain music, stop hanging out with certain people, and start doing things that are a little bit more positive. It's kind of crazy when you start to think about your own thoughts and you truly listen to what you say. Oftentimes we degrade ourselves without even knowing it. And the self narrative that I was telling myself, like you would never believe it. It's interesting. Like I've been doing this long enough that people that know me in high school would be like, Josh, I can't believe you're the way you are now. And people that know me now would be like, Josh, I can't believe that that was ever you, like that ever happened. And I think that's why it's so important that we talk about these things, and we start to put it out there that a lot of people struggle. And a lot of people have been truly depressed. A lot of people have done things that you never even know about. And it's okay if you're not okay. We just need to rally around each other and try to find support and help. My biggest goal is through this entire experience is if we can help one person not have to go through what I went through, that it would all be worth it. This whole 418 miles would all be worth it if that's the end goal.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, it's such a powerful story to share, and it's crazy to think that there's so many people, right, statistically, who are just even your age, right? We pick the year, and we say statistically how many young men and women tried to take their lives, and the many who've succeeded. It's a real mental health crisis at some point when you look at it, because even losing one person for a community is devastating, and when you're that young, you don't think about that. It really strikes me how powerful it is for you to speak about your crew and the people who support you as a sort of inverse place from where you were as a young man, when you were obviously so in your own head and so feeling so alone, and being in a place where you were just not supported in the way you needed to be. Those that doesn't happen by accident. Like that, those people are like they're resonating with you, and they're part of your journey. And I think a huge part of that is being able to share what you're up to, but also having people who genuinely care about you. And I think, to your point, if we can just have one person or one parent say, I'm gonna check in on my son or my daughter today, and just say, like, see what's going on with them. I think it's so hard because teenagers, they want to be bulletproof, right? They walk around like, I know everything, I understand everything, right. I'm all set, right? And right. I think sometimes as adults we're just like, oh, okay, he must be all set. Like, look how independent he is, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I think it takes a village, right? Like we all need teams, in our life. Like no one is truly alone. And so I'm so pleased that you picked this cause, and that you're willing to speak of it, because we just don't talk about it enough in sport. The dark side of what it means to be laser focused on something, the challenges that come with it. That sort of Hollywood mindset that it's always the loner that swims against the tide and does this thing, when truth be told, the strongest men and women we know have incredible partners, siblings, right, spouses, mentors, role models, that live out there. And those people giving to folks, like being a role model for someone, being a mentor, being a leader, being that light, is such a such an important thing to do, you know, and that's one of my favorite things about what you're doing is you're not just saying, hey, 2020 sucks. I'm gonna crawl into my garage and I'm gonna ride my bike. And I'll see you all in 2021 when it's better. You know, you're standing up and saying, this isn't cool. These are tough times. Let's do something that sparks a conversation. Let's bring attention to a really important matter. I just think it's on so many levels. It's just awesome. So I'm so pleased. So we were talking
right
before. On. You're in taper mode, right? Like it's the taper of all tapers. Because you know all these things. Are you like trying to keep that step count down, or have you been tempted? Have you hit like 9,000 steps by mistake?
No. Taper is always such a goofy thing. Like your joints hurt, your body hurts. It's not firing. You start getting in your own head a little bit more and more, right? It's like, why am I not able to hold that power? Why do I feel tired all the time? Like, you know, why am I having a nap in the middle of the day?
Right.
So I think that that for me, it's almost a good thing, a pleasant thing. I know if a week out I'm feeling like this, it's about to come around to the point where it's gonna be ready to go. I think you just have to trust that process and be able to go. Well, real quick, one thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about, you know, our past and whatnot, they most certainly do shape who we are. You know, one time somebody asked me, like, if you could go back and not go through what you went through, would you do it? I thought about it, and my answer was no. You know, my biggest weakness, like that horrible darkness that overcame my life, and like I have to fight off. Still even sometimes to this day, right? Like that biggest weakness has actually become my biggest strength. You know, once you've been to hell and back, deciding to keep pedaling is a relatively easy decision. You know, once you've gone through those types of things, it allows you a perspective that you would wish on no one. However, it just like you can do things that most people would never dream of. And like, I think that is one thing that I really hope, I invite people that when we're struggling to allow yourself to go through the struggle, get the help that we want, and then know that when you hold on, you're going to come out so strong on the other side. You're going to be able to do these things that you thought you could not. And really sometimes just getting through the day is the biggest struggle when you're going through these things. Like just holding on for that day. And like, it's worth it. It's worth it to hold on for the day. It's worth it to allow yourself the opportunity to rise again, and it will go away. Like it does not last forever.
Right.
And that's what you say. Like, you know, when you said people that rally around you, like when it's also a cause bigger than you, sometimes it's easier to get out of bed because you found a purpose within yourself, your life, that's bigger than just you. And it no longer has to be about the narrative that you speak to yourself. It has everything to do with like the power of the community that's around you. So I wanted to just share that. I felt really compelled to say that. I think it's important that, like, you know, when we look at ourselves, that sometimes what we think is truly a weakness is actually going to be used for our strength, our good, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I've heard it said before that, you know, everyone's fighting a battle we don't know about. And it's so true. And I think that finding purpose in that, right? I say it all the time, but I'm not sure people necessarily, you know where I'm coming from. But when something happens, you just say, well, to your point, you said earlier, like, we've just got to find a way to deal with it. We can't, you could say, why me? You could say, why did this happen? Or how did we get here? And sure, sometimes those conversations are important, but really it's, you know, you're judged by how you handle what's happened to you, not just what happened to you. And you can make, you have choice there. Right. And so I think that the choice that you're making here and the choices that you've made to get here are just so important. You know, I can't help but think how the positive effects of, you know, your leadership are playing out, right? They say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most, right? Like, you know, you've got a great crew there. You got more than 5, right? You get this awesome group.
Heck yeah.
And that goes beyond, right? I don't know. I think it's such a virtuous circle, and it just takes it takes a team to kind of rally around that, and having that the perspective to make that leap, right? Like all these folks came together because you were like, I'm going to try this crazy thing. So, huge kudos to you and to anyone else who's come up with a challenge that says, hey, I'm going to put this out there in public and say, I'm going to go for this, right? Like I can't imagine there's been too many people who are like, hey, there's that fastest guy on two wheels guy again. Let's go get him. Like most people are like, yeah, that's crazy. I would just never do that. So just even for dreaming the dream, I think is huge. Forget everything else that's followed, which obviously is momentous and all the work that's gone into it, but really even just starting. Hopefully you've also, lit a fire under some other people, whether it's your friend now, Paul's going to he's actually going to do an event because he's so fit, or other folks who are like, man, if that guy can ride his bike and do that, like, why not me, right? Why can't I do something cool, whatever that may be? I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk real quickly about the logistics. Where can people follow you? Like, where can they get updates and track you, and also just contribute to the cause?
That's great. Yeah. Instagram, Coach J Wolf, Wolf like the animal.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Instagram handle. I'll have my at least live feed up there. I'm going to have a Garmin tracker, and I think I could put it on Instagram. It will most definitely be on Facebook.
Okay.
So friend me. I friend probably too many people on Facebook. So that would work too. That same handle works there. Both of those places, I have a GoFundMe page, and that is going to offset some of the costs that we've incurred, just like mostly like hotel and gas and that stuff. Anything extra, I'm going to give to this non-for-profit called Rediscovering You. It's a local 501(c), and they focus on the community aspect of mental health. So people that cannot get services, they might send them a gas card. They might, send them an Uber, get them to where they need to be. They might help them get insurance. They're going to overcome anything that is getting in the way of somebody getting the help that they need when they want it. So I thought that was a perfect person to partner with. So they have their own the GoFundMe page that's linked to mine as well, and that is all on my Instagram and my handle, and also on Facebook. So that would be one cool way to get involved.
Okay, awesome. I'll definitely put all of that in the show notes for those of you listening who want to support and just amplify the cause and spread the word. And of course, tune in. Like, there's nothing like, just as athletes, as Ironman athletes and people who've raced before, like having a clock, having a time, having a target, like all that is just, it just adds so much more drama, to the equation. So, definitely people will be tuning in and seeing that, and obviously can follow you afterwards for, your recap and, kind of hear how the day played out. Like, there's not gonna be a lot of time for talking, right? Like if you jib jab on the bike, that's probably going to cost you 5 minutes right there, right? So
there you go.
You gotta be like,
what is cool though?
What's that?
Sorry to interrupt you. Is that they can come up to me. My crew can come up to me every 15 minutes, and they can be next to me for a minute. So if you do put stuff on my Instagram or Facebook page, it could be relayed, I'd rather say, to me. So that is one cool thing. So that we'll have
Very
that
cool.
ability as well.
All right. Well, that's awesome. We'll definitely make sure of that, to think of some fun stuff to say. Like, how do you like those bib shorts now? Huh?
Yeah, no joke, right?
Totally.
I only peed through them 5 times. I don't know.
Hey, I don't know. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, we've canceled auctioning off my bib shorts after skipping the last bathroom stop. We'll be auctioning off something else to one of you lucky listeners later.
That's right. That's
awesome. Well, hey, Josh, I really appreciate your patience with my logistical poor performance in our original episode, but it's been just as fun as the first time. I'm so pumped for what you're doing, and I hope by shining a light on what you're doing and the importance of the cause, but also just your athletic leadership in the space will inspire others to, come up with or support folks who are, attempting to do their impossible, and as a result, I think make us all, just a little bit better. It's that community of action, it's the community of purpose, and you're bringing the two together, which is fantastic. So, from my audience to you, I just want to say best of luck. We can't wait to follow along. We hope you survive the taper, because, like you said, it's the worst. And we hope you wake up on the morning of October 4th at like 2 a.m. ready to rock.
That's right.
And light it up. We can't wait to follow up. All right, man. Best of luck. We'll be in touch. Okay, I'll follow up on the other side.
Sounds good. Hey, why don't you get some west winds for me? Can you cue that up?
All right, we'll do that. I'll see. I've got some people out west. I'll see what I can do. We'll put some salt in the clouds. We'll see what we can fire up for you.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you so
man.
much.
Jetstream
I
coming
enjoyed talking to you. Yeah. All right. Bye.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.
For more information about Endurance Nation, visit us online at endurancenation.us. The provided music is from the Podshow Podsafe Music Network. Check it out at music.podshow.com.